One of the best ways to immediately start sounding more professional and confident at the piano is to understand the concept of reharmonization. Now, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at reharmonization from the very basic strategy, which is finding ultimate destination chords and finding interim destination chords and working backwards to create harmony towards those destination chords that sounds epic, that sounds like a good jazz piano player. And that's really what you're looking for. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind when you do this. The first is you have to keep the melody going. That's the anchor point that keeps the listener engaged with the reharmonization. If you change the melody, then the reharmonization doesn't make any sense because it's just a tune that nobody recognizes. It's when you put rich chords and rich progressions beneath the melody that the listener goes, wow, that sounds really cool. So we're gonna work on the tune Auld Lang Syne. It is almost New Year's Eve. Now, we've done some work on Auld Lang Syne before. We did it last year. We're gonna do it again this year. I think it's important to work with tunes that people recognize and of course that you recognize. It's a very simple melody, very simple chord changes, and our goal here is to reharmonize the destination chords, not necessarily every chord, although we could do that, we just really don't have enough time. Take a look at the ultimate destination chords, work backwards, and work in some new harmony. So let's dive in right now and get started. I've put together a lead sheet plus an extra staff to make some notes. So the first thing you should do is just kind of take a look at the original chord changes. It's not horrible, but we can certainly do so much better. But when you play through it, think to yourself, well, what are the destination chords? Well, the first one I think is fairly obvious. It's when you switch keys and you're moving into the key of B flat temporarily. So this is a destination chord right here. So that's our first one. And the second one, major ultimate destination chord, would be this chord here, which ends the 8-bar phrase. So let's just play it. Right? We modulated into B flat. Now we're going back to the key of F. So what we're trying to do now is work backwards from the B flat major 7th chord and the next one, which is the F, and try and find chords that fit. Now, you'll notice in the first staff, you've got C minor and F7. That's what we call a typical 2-5. So that's a 2 minor 7, flat 5, well, just 2 minor 7 to 5-7 to 1, sometimes flat 5 on the 2 minor, but not in this case. So what we're gonna do is find new chords that work there. And the first thing that you should think about is the tritone substitutions for the dominant 7th chord. So the first one we're going to look at is, of course, this chord. Let me just erase all of this. And now we're going to take the F7 chord and we're going to turn it into a B7 chord. Now, why are we going to do that? Because that's the tritone substitution. And the other thing is, when you consider the melody, which has to remain intact, which is the C, that's a flat 9. So we've got a B7 flat 9 chord leading to B flat major 7. So let's just play the B7 flat 9 chord. So you've got B7 here, and then your flat 9, which is this, And it just, chordy says no 5, but we'll get there in a second. So we've got this. We can put in the 5 here in the bass if you want to. But also in the right hand, play other notes from the upper structure triad that matches the flat 9. And the first thing to think about is a chord such as A flat over B. And you get a B13 flat 9 chord. So that's my first thought when I see a melody note like that, is like, what triad can I put on that note? Like if I put a C triad, it's just wrong. It just sounds wrong. There's a bunch of flat 9s. You can't have flat 9s with a third of the chord. Get the idea? So just try another triad. And in this case, we're going to go to A flat. So that sounds great. Now, it'll sound better in context once we figure out the chord before it. So B7, 13, flat 9. Let's just put in the 13 here. And the next chord we're going to work on is the C minor 7. So we're going to throw that out. And we're not going to do a tritone substitution of C minor 7 because there is no tritone in a minor 7th chord. So we're going to swap it out for a C7 chord. And then we have to consider the A natural as in the melody note. So we've got a C7 with a 13, okay? Now what we want to think about is, in addition to that 13th chord, what chord sounds good over C7 that keeps the 13 in mind? My first thought is a flat 9, which automatically sounds good, but is there other notes in there that would sound just as good? And there is, it's the sharp 11. So we're going to add that to the chord. Now listen to this chord. What a great sounding chord. Now I've taken the root out of there, but I can put it back. You can decide which one you want to use. And then go to the B7 flat 9 13 chord. Now that might not sound great by itself, but in the context of everything that came before it, listen to this. Now it sounds a whole lot better. So what we're trying to do in essence is keep the melody note, change out the chords, and play some type of cadence leading to the destination chord. Cadence meaning 2-5-1, which is a typical jazz progression. But instead of 2-5-1 here, we've got 2-7 with a flat 9 and a sharp 11. So a C13 flat 9 sharp 11 chord. Let's just write that. 13, flat 9, sharp 11. Going to the B7 flat 9 13. Going to B major 7, or B flat major 7. Okay, let's do it one more time. Now, of course, you can work every chord before that. And you could keep going some type of cycle of fifths, some type of cadence, leading to, for example, the C7 flat 9 13 chord. So if we put something in front of that, you could maybe say a D7 chord, but keep this melody note intact, which is the F natural here, right? We've got F naturals. We can do a D7. Listen to the next chord. Next chord. So let's try that. D7. Hear it? Wow, now we're really cooking with gas. We've really got some nice chords happening. Let's do the next one. So in this case, we're heading to the ultimate destination, which is the key of F and an F chord. So if we work backwards from there, we've got a C natural in the melody here. we've got a D natural here. So what two chords can work there? Well, actually, let's work back even further than that. Let's do this chord and this chord. So we're going to toss all of this out and we're going to think, okay, what can I put in front of F? Well, if you think about it, before we had a C7 chord going to an F, which is 5-1, take the tritone substitution like we did before, and we've got G flat. And then if we put a half step above G flat, we've got G natural, and then a half step above G natural, we've got A flat. Now it doesn't always have to be half steps, because you'll notice up here, we put a D7 sharp 9 chord in front of here, so it wasn't a half step above C. But in this case, we're gonna go half step. So it's either half step, whole step, or it could be, I don't know, a fifth, a sixth. It doesn't really matter, it's just what sounds good. And you get to learn over time what sounds good versus other types of reharmonization. So half step above G is A flat, and then a half step above that is A. So we've got the melody note. So these two chords need to be different even though the melody note is the same. So the first one is the G flat. So that's just a simple G flat with a ninth, third, sharp 11. And you can put the seventh in here as well. So you've got a G flat or an F sharp, 9 sharp 11 chord. Perfect. Sharp, 9, sharp 11. Okay. And then in front of that, you've got some type of chord over G. So this. Actually, G minor works pretty well there. Yeah, so just a G minor 9 chord. That sounds good. You could do a G7 chord if you wanted to, I suppose. But you've got a fifth in the melody, so it's a little difficult and you're getting low on the piano. So I think G minor is going to work. And then a half step above that, A flat 9, sharp 11. Sounds good. And then a half step above that, maybe A minor. Try that. Yeah, I think that's starting to sound pretty good. And then rather than going straight to the F sharp, maybe do an F sus to F7 to F major 7, something like that. All right, let's play the whole thing. Yeah, I love that. Wow. And then you could do a 2-5 in front of the A minor. Yes, that sounds good. Actually, I like this chord because it's got force. And then A flat 7. Yeah, it's starting to come together. What I'm going to do now is move over to the grand piano in the other room and play a version of this reharmonization. Now, it depends on what I feel in the moment because I'm constantly thinking about changing up the harmony, not always playing the same reharm. So it may be different and something, I'll try to incorporate the things that we've talked about here. And I'm going to play through the tune, do a couple of choruses of solo, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. I hope you're learning something. Just before we go to the grand piano, just try to remember that if you like videos like this, you can give them a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you want to subscribe, hit the little bell when you do, and we'll notify you of all the upcoming videos that we're making. We're over here at the grand piano. I'm going to play for you the Auld Lang Syne reharm that we talked about. Now try to listen for all of the different chord changes. In other words, the places where I've stuck in some reharmonization before ultimate destination chords and before interim destination chords. Try to listen for that, and then also look for things like tempo and speed, and solo section obviously is going to be in there as well. See the different chord changes in there. So it's really all about good ear training and good listening. Let me play it for you. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about it. All right, I hope you can start to see some of the reharmonization that was in there. There's obviously a lot of elements to work on. I wish you the best with your practice. I'm going to put a link to a reharmonization of Auld Lang Syne up here in the corner. You can go and check that out. It has a lot of the things that we talked about in it completely written out, both hands. And also, if you have any questions or comments about what we've talked about here today, you can put them in the comments below. And if you're looking for more information on reharmonization, please put that in your comments as well. And we'll be sure to make a video about that specific topic. All right, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you're looking for something else to do at this time, I suggest you check out this video.